Test 1, 2, test. Okay, still talking. Testing this mic. Can you hear me? I can hear myself. Test, test. You want it on, Brian?
Excuse me, if I can have your attention, please. It's just a little bit past 3 o'clock, our scheduled start time. However, we just got word that we have some teachers from some other buildings who are in transit, so we're going to delay the start of this meeting here a few minutes to give them a chance to arrive. Thank you. Okay, again, if I can have your attention, if you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to the April 5th work session for the MSD of Martinsville School Board. My name is Don Lips, and I am serving as the president of the school board for the calendar year of 2021. Alongside of me today are the other four board members, Mr. Matt Hankins, Michelle Ball, Vice President Heather Staggs, and Secretary Jackie Deckard. We want to welcome you and thank you for taking the time to be here today. Trust me, we understand how difficult it is for teachers after a tough day in the classroom to be asked to attend another meeting, especially when it's 80 degrees and sunny outside in the spring. So we do appreciate your attendance here today, and we think it's very important that you are here today. The school board has asked, by the way, I'm slipping here with my mask, just so you all know, I have had both of my vaccinations over a month ago, so if it slips, I think we're going to be okay here. But the school board has asked for this meeting because we want to hear from you, the teachers and the staff. We'd like to hear what you have to say about how we can make our schools better in our district. You are the ones that are in the trenches every day. You're the ones that are in front of the students every day. And you are the ones that make all the connections with the parents and the students and the community members. So it's important for us that we hear what you have to say, again, on what you think we need to do for our district as we move forward. We have no intention for this session to be a complaint session where someone might complain about something that's been done in the past or someone or some program. What we are interested in today is, again, what you think could be done, what we can do to make our schools better, to help support you in your role as a staff member, and what we can do to keep you employed in our district for as many years as we possibly can. We have chosen a work session because by law, it is the session where all board members are allowed to attend. And by a work session, we're talking about having it as a public meeting. There may be some people in here as guests from the community. We may have a couple parents in here. I know we have one media in here. So again, we'd like to, if you are a guest outside of the staff here today, we'd like to welcome you as well. But we feel that it's important that all of our board members hear what you have to say. So again, this is the idea behind the work session. Sometime in the future, maybe, we would like to have some town hall meetings where only one or two board members would be present. It might be a little bit smaller group. It might be more focused in a particular area. But for today, our interest is to hear what you have to say, and all of us would like to hear your voice. We will have a second work session today you're probably aware of a little bit later for the elementary teachers. And then we also have a third work session that is scheduled for next Monday, April 12th at 7 o'clock in the evening, and that would be directed toward parents and community members. Again, it is a public meeting, so if you would want to attend, you are more than welcome. The mission of the board is to take the information that we get from you all and from the community members and from the parents, and we gather it together, we piecemeal it, and we formulate, or we use that information then to help formulate a plan on how we want to move forward over the next couple of years. We know that the format today is very casual. We would like for this to be casual. We're really not here as board members today to answer questions because we don't have all the answers. And honestly, we don't really know what your questions are going to be or what the questions might be. Our purpose for being here today is to listen to you. So we are here to listen to what you have to say and ideas that you have. That's the whole purpose of this work session today. So, we have a podium set up here. We'd like to, ask for volunteers to come up and speak. We have some ideas. I'm just going to read off some questions that maybe would help stimulate some conversation here today. But things that we are interested in would be, for example, question number 1, what do you believe is important to feel supported and valued in the MSD of Martinsville? Number 2, what do you want and need to be successful in your classroom or with your position? Number 3, what would you like to see developed in the MSD of Martinsville during the next couple years? Number 4, what could be done to improve teacher and staff morale? Number 5, what could be done to make your school day more productive? Number 6, being respectful of the time commitment that you as teachers and staff members make on a daily basis. What is something that could be taken off of your plate that would make your job more efficient? Number 7, what could we do that would help retain our teachers and staff in the MSD of Martinsville? We'll ask for volunteers here this afternoon. For anyone that chooses to speak, you can come up here to the podium. You can introduce yourself, tell us what school you are from, where you are employed, but if you don't want to give that information, obviously you're not required to. Again, it's a general format for today. However, if you want your voice heard, but you're not comfortable with today's setting, you're welcome to email or write your responses on some questionnaires that were provided, and give your feedback. We have a basket up here. You can drop it off on your way out. Does anybody here today have any questions on the format of this work session? Yes? It's okay. We said it was formal.
If people wanted to take that and send it later, is there
Sure.
a way for them to get that, like, to get the paper to you and they can't put it in the box today?
Sure. They can, if you want to email it to us, you can email it to us. If you want to give it to your building representative, and the building representative can get a hold of us, and we can collect that. Mm-hmm. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, if we don't have any questions, and I think we're ready to go for today, the big question is can we get somebody to be first? So is there anyone that would like to stand up and make a comment? We have people who have signed up. Okay. Sure. Yeah, you want to? Okay.
Okay, is this good? Can you hear me? Okay, so I'm John Saplinski. I started here as a substitute teacher 2 years ago, and I became an aide last year. I worked in the substitute room. Then COVID hit, and then I was offered a position in the English department upon a staff member leaving. And so this is my first year teaching, and unfortunately it's also going to be the last year I'm teaching, because a lot of people know that my background's in criminal justice, and coming in as a teacher, not with my background in education, it was daunting, and I frankly did not get the support I needed to want to continue working here. I loved working here. The subroom was not a glorious job. No one wanted to go in there. I understand, but I wanted to do it for the kids. I wanted to keep my foot in the door because I really enjoyed working here as a total outsider to Martinsville. But some of the key points I want to address why I did not think I could succeed as well as I could have. First off, there were no new teacher orientation of any kind. In the past, there used to be new teacher orientation meetings. I knew as an aide they talked about it during PLC. This year, I know it's crazy, but I did not get that. I am not familiar with state standards. I'm not familiar with what I'd be evaluated on. Coming as a criminal justice major, I came in blind. I may be a strong reader, but I don't know what standards I'm supposed to be teaching the kids on. And frankly, if anyone could have reached me for help, I would have greatly appreciated that. But I found myself going to department chair, Ms. Randall, more than I did my admin because I thought I would actually get a response. So lack of communication from above, I felt I was isolated. I felt isolated in the subroom, and I thought, I'll be an English teacher, that'll change. It did not change. I still felt alone on an island. I still felt as though I had to look within my peer group for support rather than admin. So even just once a month, hey, new teachers, how are you doing? Here's what we think you would like to know. Here's what would keep you engaged. I really wished for that. There was elements of lack of professionalism. Some emails directed at teachers, some emails directed at me. I'm a 25-year-old man. I don't need to be talked like I'm a 17-year-old student. There is definitely a tone. There's definitely a way things could be worded to where I don't feel like I'm being talked down upon. I may not have a background in education, but I'm still a professional, and I still really wish to be treated like such. And the last thing is communication. I have to relay information to students. Students feel there's a disconnect between me and the front office. When we changed from e-learning, from red to green to the 5 periods a day, kids were asking me, why is this happening, Mr. C? What can we do? And I said, did you vote for this? And I said, I can't tell you why. I feel as though there should be an admin, even once a month. Kids don't check their email. I understand it. But at least put the notion out there. What's going on in your school? What behavior things need to be addressed? Dress code. We've just started enforcing that this week, but it was over the PA. Have it in writing. Have it so where kids could reference. These are the expectations we need. The best way I could put it is I'd rather have a very get away from me front office than a very hands-off. I'd rather have I know who they are, I see them in the hallways, than just like the kids, I'm afraid to go in there. I don't know what's being done in there. So that's pretty much sums up about what I feel as a first-year teacher. I'm not having my needs addressed, and that's why I can't continue.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Yep.
I missed the name. Oh, she'll say it. Hello, I'm Erica Scroy. I'm one of the counselors here at the high school. I'm a little nervous talking in front of my peers. I can talk in front of students all day, but peers are a little bit more daunting. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is like that point B1. I think this year we've had a real issue with people not being invited to the table for discussion. So just a few things like counselors here in the building, all 4 of us are required to do, we're being Apex teachers. Me personally, I don't have a background in teaching. I went straight into counseling. I know some of our other ones have had teaching, but I am not a teacher. Therefore, I don't feel like I should be grading assignments for e-learners. So I feel like at the beginning of the year when the decision was made for e-learning, we weren't in on that decision at all. So a huge chunk of our time, and we know kids need mental health counseling and things like that, we're having to grade Apex assignments. We kind of joke between us that we're learning a bunch of new things that we didn't know, which is kind of a funny way to put it, but at the same time, we're bogged down in Apex grading. So me personally, I only have S through Z. I have probably 30 to 40 e-learners that I'm in charge of. So that means grading that many assignments for those kids each day, every try. And it's really easy to get bogged down. So like we're high into scheduling right now while I still have to grade all the assignments while communicating with students, scheduling and things like that. So there's just not enough time in the day. And I don't feel like, at least the counselors, I don't feel like we had any part of that conversation when it came to e-learning. And so it was just more like, here's what we're doing and you're gonna do this. So that was a little bit odd. And so that's kind of an example of not having people at the table that are going to be implementing changes or doing whatever it is. There's a couple other instances like our new ACE, formerly Hammonds. There's supposed to be this team of decision makers, but as far as I know, there are no counselors on that team. But we're being held accountable for these students graduating, and I don't know how my kids are doing at ACE because nobody's communicated that with me. So just a few examples of not being part of the conversation or at the table when decisions are made. For part B2, kind of like John said, definitely need to be better communication in general. My department, I feel like we're pretty good about communicating because it's just the four of us and our offices are close. So we constantly email, we yell at each other through their offices all day long. Not always when students are here, but we have a good communication base. Sometimes when that base needs to communicate with admin, we can't find anybody or nobody knows the answer. So that's kind of a big issue. We need to know what's going on. And that kind of ties back to having everybody at the table. Another example would be, there was a situation, and I think it started in January or February when we came back from Christmas break. We were told that we needed to do these counselor connection videos, which is a great idea. And I believe it was from the board that it was recommended to do more communication with parents and families outside of who we normally talk to, which I think is a great idea. My issue is with the communication piece of it. I was told that another counselor in the district told me that we had to do this, and it wasn't ever a conversation involving the high school. We had no idea other than you need to do these videos and we need to reach out to parents more. Well, in the high school counseling world, we are constantly reaching out to parents and students. We email, we hold info nights. Granted, this year has been a lot different because of COVID and we can't have those nights, but we've been doing Zoom meetings. We've been trying to get outside of the box on communication. So when we were told that we had to create videos on top of what we were already doing, and that communication came from another counselor and not from an administrator. And I did have a conversation with Mr. Buckler about that decision, and he did say that it was a decision based off of the board, but no direction came from the top. Like it came from the side saying, we're doing this and you need to do it too. But we weren't part of that conversation. I feel like we should have been a part because, I mean, elementary counselor telling me what I need to do is very different from a high school conversation. We communicate with our kids all the time. Our kids are just a different age group, so we don't always need to include the parent. Like if it's something about scheduling and it's a senior, yes, we will CC the parent in, but we all communicate on a daily basis with our students and parents. So for someone to say you're not doing this is a little rough because we use that message feature in Skyward all the time. So that's just kind of that little piece, but definitely better communication in general. I feel like there's just missing things, and I might be doing something in my office and I'd be like, wait, when was this decided? And it's like, oh, we're doing that. Well, what are we doing? I don't know what you're talking about. So just some things that maybe it's me, maybe I missed it, I don't know, but just better communication overall would be amazing. Just for me, I think one issue I've had lately, it was about questions about the sick bank and then about insurance. Something that really has bothered me is that up at CEC, I feel like there are so many people with their hands in the pot, and if I have a question, I don't feel like I can ask a question because no one's going to have an answer. So what's frustrating is when I have a question about insurance saying, the example was it was with my dentist. I owed $1,000 extra when I thought I was covered. And so I emailed who I thought would take care of it, and that person just said, it was ridiculous. I had to laugh at it. Their response was, I don't know. I don't have the school's insurance, so I'll have to look it up. Well, you're the insurance person. Shouldn't you know the answer to that question? And in all, it took over 2 weeks of phone calls, emailing, and to just say, I'm sorry, here's where it's stated. I guess whatever I needed was in a minute, like 10 minutes into a video about benefits. That's not okay. I mean, it was a deadline. There was never any deadline on any of the communication, but it was embedded in this video, and you could tell me this second in the video that it was embedded and communicated. So, I mean, that for me is just something frustrating. But even with like the sick bank, all they could tell me was, here's where it's written in the document. Okay, cool, I get that. I can read the document. But what I need to know is if I can actually use it, what's the process? And it wasn't until I talked to my building reps to say, oh, okay, so I can't use it. That's perfectly fine. Sorry, my phone is ringing. So it was just a kind of like, it was a back and forth email when they just kept screenshotting what I needed to read. And I was like, okay, I get it. I can read. I am educated. But what I need to know is a yes or no question. And there was no yes or no question from them. And luckily, Shannon and Julie were able to help me solve the problem because they know. So I'm like, I don't even feel like I get support even when I do have questions. And in this person's email, we get them all the time. It's from Jeremy Ogden that says, please feel free to ask questions. I don't feel free to ask questions because I know it's going to get turned around to so many people and nobody knows what's going on. So, I mean, me personally, I love working for this district. I love my job. I love the kids, love everything about it, love who I work with. But this year has been tough, not necessarily because of COVID, but just because of all the changes and the lack of communication. I find myself very, very, very frustrated. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erica.
And Don, just to let them know, the notes I'm taking are for myself. These aren't notes that are going to be typed up and publicized, even though I am the secretary. I don't do that, so just FYI. Agenda.
Hi, I'm Christine Long, and I've been the middle school choir teacher here for the past 29 years. It's hard for me to believe. The first 24 years I spent at East Middle School, Bell East. The past 5 have been at Wooden. Our Wooden music facilities, I'm going to speak to that, are just simply not adequate for our performing students. When East and West combined middle schools, starting in the year 2016, a 3-phase renovation building plan facilitated under former Superintendent Michelle Moore was created for Wooden Middle. Phase 1 was to be our science labs, which have been completed and are amazing. Phase 2 was to include our new music facilities near the new science wing, and then demolition of the back portion of the building where our music rooms now reside, and there were some other things that were going to be added into that, I understand. Phase 2 just didn't happen, and we don't know why that is. We don't know why it was not moved forward. It was really exciting to think about all of the possibilities that a new music area would offer our students. These kids, they deserve top-notch spaces. They deserve spaces in which they can create and perform music. These spaces for some of our kids are their outlet. It's their safe space. And currently, these are just a few thoughts. We're going to dream big. Ideally, our band and orchestra would each have a dedicated space. Currently, both at Bell and Wooden, they share a space. We would love to and need to have acoustically sound classrooms for band, orchestra, and choir with ample instrument and equipment storage and a place for general music teaching. Our classrooms are very narrow, which makes it more difficult to set up and run rehearsals. The choir room would ideally have built-in stair-step levels, just like the old room at East used to have. It was just an amazing space to be able to teach choir in. We would love to see soundproof practice rooms added, as well as the possibility of a performance stage. Currently, our performance space is the gym. And, that's not been the best acoustic experience for our performers or our audience members. There's quite a bit more that could be added to this list of wants or needs for our kids. We just feel that it's time to take a look at our fine arts spaces. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will address that just a little bit here, and this is, again, not a, this is my personal comment here. I'm not speaking on behalf of the board, but we have talked about the importance of our district creating a short-term and a long-term plan when it comes to all of our facilities. And, you know, we have many needs here. We have a difficult geographic situation because we are so widespread, and we have buildings that cover so much ground. And our newest building, believe it or not, is South Elementary. And so we are long overdue for some new buildings and new facilities. And in my personal opinion, there's no need that's greater than the middle school need. And just in everything, whether we're talking about academics or we're talking about, you know, music or whether we're talking about athletics. So I think it's a task that we have to address. Again, short-term, long-term plans on what we're going to do about replacing our buildings, what we're going to do about consolidating our buildings, whether we're going to build new or whether we're going to add on. And as you might understand, this has to be carefully planned because it would make no sense to spend $7 or $8 million on a building that you're going to demolish, sell, or replace 7 or 8 years from now. So I agree with you 100%. And that is a task that we have here that's facing us immediately. So thank you.
I'm Lori Lund. I'm one of the school counselors here at the high school. This is my 17th year. And my last year. I'm retiring. I'm going to address B3, what would I like to see developed in the MSD of Martinsville during the next 2 years or longer based on the 7-year plan or whatever. We've expanded and built a lot of STEM programming. Brooklyn, for one. Kids get excited, they get hooked, they want to be part of that. But then as they move up through the district, it's like we don't either have the staffing or the facilities to continue the STEM training. And then all of a sudden, the kids, it dies off again. We're very unique in that we have a wonderful vocational wing right over there. And one way to increase enrollment in this district, I think one thing we could do to market ourselves is to say, and to share information about the vocational wing, because a lot of schools got rid of those wings years ago when the financial problems started. We still have that here. I think we need to start expanding that area. We've done a lot of expansion with athletics here, nothing against athletics. You know my husband and I are at a lot of events. But we need to now start focusing on academics, especially with the new graduation requirements, with graduation pathways that students have to achieve, and now with the another new thing coming down from the state, next level programs of study. A lot of that is going to come from the vocational areas. We need to have the staffing and the equipment ready, so as those Brooklyn kiddos start moving up through the pipeline, they will get here and realize, wow, I can still be involved with robotics. I can still be involved with all the computer things, coding, all that stuff. I believe we need to expand the vocational area, especially the classrooms. The classrooms that are back there, which are only 2, they're small, which then limits our maximum that we can have in that classroom. Those classrooms are limited to about 20 students. If we could have more or bigger classrooms, we could have more students in those. We could expand out into the vocational parking lot, just like they built the auxiliary gym the activity center, whatever term you want to call it, we built that onto the jock lot. We can build out into that parking lot to expand. Those students can park in the front with every other student in the building who drives, and staff can park in the staff parking lot with the rest of us who drive. We need to have updated welding equipment. We used to have, when Dr. Moore was here, we used to have a lot of partnerships with Overton and a lot of the businesses and industry in this area, this community. Then if we could keep our welding program here, we would not have to send students to Hoosier Hills, which would save us money. We don't have to share our technology, our INPERS money that we get, INTERS money that we get for vocational classes with Hoosier Hills, because we get to keep all the money here because the students will stay here for welding. That's just one example of a program. I hope we can find a staff member to hire so we can bring back robotics. That was a wonderful program we had. We had the competition team. Again, this would build off of those kiddos that start at the Brooklyn level, get excited about it. But hopefully they have continued programming at Bell and Wooden, so when they get here, they're still excited about it. It would also, like I said, meet the next level programs of study, as well as the graduation pathways. And just to piggyback off of what Erica said, I also agree communication has not been the best this year. Emails are not answered promptly. It's hard to find administrators when you're looking for them and you need questions. We used to have, as a guidance department, we used to have weekly meetings with admin. I think the previous school improvement plan, which the past two improvement plans, nobody has seen. We didn't have a committee of teachers writing it. It was written by somebody in the front office, and to this day, I have not seen the past two improvement plans. So I have no idea what the improvement plan is for this building. I know two improvement plans ago, one was to remove testing from the guidance department and move that to administration. As my retirement this year, I hope that they fill my position. If they fill it, I hope that, those types of duties do not get put back on guidance. Because unfortunately, yes, Apex has consumed us this year. We have not been able to have small groups, meet a lot of one-on-one because we are consumed with correcting those Apex assignments. And again, we were not at the table. And I think we need to have high school representation. We're the big part of this district too. Ultimately, we're the ones that this district gets graded on when it comes to graduation rate. So I just would prefer that there'd be more and better communication when decisions are made that affect the high school. You need to have high school people at the table making that decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Shannon Adams. I teach life sciences here at the high school. This is my 9th year teaching, and I've always wanted to be an artesian with regard to being a teacher, and my husband's been an artesian for 40 years, so this district means a lot to me. I think it's really important, and not that it's my place to say thank you, but thank you to every teacher who stood up and talked, because I know it's hard. And I am also incredibly impressed that we have so many teachers who want to talk about programming, because that's what I want to talk about too. Very passionate about diverse programming for our kids. And I could talk about all kinds of other things for 3 hours, because you've met me, and I'm good at talking. But I want to keep it about programming. So this really piggybacks with what Mrs. Lund was talking about, particularly with this slant that I'm presenting my information. A couple of years ago, the district started putting, we had been putting Project Lead the Way, and it's expensive, so this is just an example. But we had been putting Project Lead the Way in with regard to computer-based courses. So we have a wide variety of computer-based classes. I'm sure there are other things we could offer. I don't have the background that the counselors have. We have, we still have the vocational area, and Ms. Lund is exactly right. My understanding is when the state started cutting funding for Voc Tech, a lot of schools let it go, and we did not because we knew it was important for our kids. So we have things here that other districts don't necessarily have, and I think we can expand in that area. So kind of what I'm going to bring in is this idea of CTE funding. So I know just enough about CTE to mess it up. So I'll do my best. So there are certain classes they can be considered electives, but some of them they're vocational classes, but they're not just in the vocational area. So that would be a lot of the business classes that we teach. That's going to be a lot of the classes that Ms. Cheatham and Ms. Casey teach with FACS. I don't know that all of them? Okay. All the vocational classes, all of Ms. Bentley's computer-based classes. I don't want to forget anyone. Everything that I teach, Project Lead the Way, and anatomy that Ms. Kleingartner and I share, we've shared for the past couple of years, all of those classes are CTE classes. And CTE classes give you additional dollars to help pay for the teacher and to help pay for the expense of the course. And in my mind, because I'm always worried about money too, for all kinds of reasons, but in my mind, if we can find a teacher and add classes or programming that's net neutral from a cost expense in 3 years, it makes good sense because after 3 years, you're actually money ahead as long as the state still funds you. So the reason I bring that up, because we also have Mr. Meyer that does a lot of CTE classes too, is that right? And the state is actually threatening that funding right now. They're saying that they're going to completely yank it, which makes me really sad because I think Martinsville really values its television programming and the things that we do. That's an entirely different discussion with regard to what's happening up at the State House. There are some engineering classes that I think we could add in if we could find the people. I think that probably leads into a little bit with what Mrs. Lund was saying. I think when I checked last night, I think there are 8 to 10 different engineering courses offered through Project Lead the Way. Now, my bias is toward Project Lead the Way because that's what my training is in, and that's really all my CTE background is. But I just want to give you a snapshot if my numbers are correct, and I think they're at least close. So we started Principles of Biomedical Science last year, and then we added Human Body Systems this year. And then this next year, we're going to add Medical Intervention. Now, those are all funded at $680 per student, as long as they're in a seat. Right now, the count's in December, I think, unless something has changed. So as long as they're in the seat in December, you get an extra chunk of money. Now, these classes are crazy expensive to implement. So far, the district has put in, I think it's about $40,000 for equipment, because we didn't have anything from a microbiology standpoint. When I took over AP Bio, we had 3 micropipettes. Like, that's the fancy stuff that they drop the solutions out of. We had 3 of those and 1 gel electrophoresis chamber, which is how we look at DNA. 1. And that's what we had. And everything else, we were just kind of piecing it together. And so the district, through taxpayer dollars, really invested in what would be this biotech pathway. And we're adding MI. So it's very expensive. When we add MI, there will be additional costs to add that course, although I've broken it up. I broke it up the first year. And then a lot of the equipment can be used by multiple classes, so that helps. So we'll probably spend, I'm going to go high and say $12,000 to $15,000 this year, because we're also, I think, going to have to add a little bit of equipment for the second class. So worst case scenario, $55,000 for equipment across 3 years. Now that's an incredible amount of money. But when I look at, so last year we had 50 kids in PBS. So 50 kids times 680, that's got to be $34,000. We also had about 80 kids in anatomy. Now, Miss Kleingartner and I split that, but 80 kids is about $69,000. So between anatomy and principles of biomedical science, we completely covered 2 whole teachers' salaries and some of their benefits package. And on the other side of that was that we got a free AP Bio teacher, because I've already been paid for. So all of the AP Bio classes, that's like money ahead in my mind, and I'm simplifying it. But we also got a biology teacher out of Miss K. So this year, when you look at the math, and now this year's funny because we did 6 classes. So that meant there were more kids in PBS and there were more kids in anatomy. But I think just the kids that I've touched alone, it's about $100,000. So you take my salary out of it and you take all of my benefits package out of it and you're still a little bit money ahead. Now we're really not money ahead though, right? Because we had to pay for all of that equipment. If the numbers hold for next year with kids in PBS, HBS, and what I think we're going to have in MI, I think we're break even next year for the entire outlay for the program. And so the only additional expense we have is when things break and they have to be replaced. And I think it's going to be a popular program. I think the kids like the classes. So I would anticipate that we would continue to see, it's great programming and that's why we offer it, but we also have to honor the fact that it's expensive. But I think we're net neutral at 3. So then my question becomes, well, if we can get net neutral at 3, and then you're actually adding on things for years to, as long as the state funds it, which is a big question mark. But I don't think the state's going to stop funding biotech. These classes that are identified as high need, they're identified because we don't have people to do those jobs in the state, or they're trying to get more of those jobs in the state. And I think the governor just released within the past month that we added 400 biotech jobs in the central part of the state. So I don't see biotech being cut. I don't see voc tech going down. I wouldn't see engineering losing money. Now, the hard thing is the teacher, but I think it's, for some of this CTE stuff, if we can get neutral on a teacher in 3 years, it just makes sense to me to add as much programming as we can, as long as we have the space. That's a whole lot. But in my mind, in 3 years, it's free, so to speak. And the kids are getting so much out of it. And these courses are graduation pathway courses, which is becoming increasingly important, right? Am I saying it at least somewhat intelligently? And then there's something else, you would use the word, Lori, that's beyond just pathways. We'll have to add a 4th course. Next level, the next level stuff. So these strands are all in there, and it's a way for our kids to be more successful with graduation, classes that they really like being in. They're training them for careers. Even if they come in and they take the first class and they're like, I hated that. You know what? Go try something else. Do that while you're in high school. Don't waste college money on that, right? Or training money after high school. So it's kind of a passion project for me to just continue to expand programming. We're doing a nice job. Also with AP, we've added a couple of additional AP classes this year, and I believe, Ms. Jackson, you helped with that, and I really appreciate that because that saves people money when they go to college. And I think it's really important that we meet the needs of all students across the gamut to the extent we can. We're doing a nice job, and I would just like us to continue to move forward with that. So that was item B3. That was as close as I could get it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
I've got a comment to make, too.
Sure.
Years ago, when I was hired here, they were going to replace the program. And because of CTE money, they kept the marketing program and DECA. And I believe Mr. Lund was able to hire a math teacher because of the extra money that they got when I was hired here. So just a comment, I'm very aware of the CTE and how important the funding is.
It's hard for me to bend over, I'm sorry. I'm John Kirtland. I have been an educator for 15 plus years, been at the district now for 2 years. So yeah, I'm going to, I first want to, I know this is kind of off topic a little bit, but since it is kind of a public forum, I'd also like to just pass our condolences from our swimming and diving team to Indian Creeks. For anyone who doesn't know about the story of Chase Smith, his dad, Brad Smith, was actually my first coach when I was a little kid, about 6, 7 years old. And if you don't know the story of Chase Smith, I think you need to read up on it. I think everyone could do good by trying to be like Chase. Just take one day to try to be like Chase. And that's incredibly, incredibly sad. So if you don't know the story, I encourage you to look it up. But I just want to publicly pass our condolences to them. I want to talk about the first 2 points, the first 2 questions. Don, when you sent this email out, or I got it through the district, the first 2 questions struck out to me. You know, what do you believe is important to feel supported and valued by the MSD of Martinsville? And what do you want and need to be successful in the classroom with your position? The 2 questions that you asked are one and the same, okay? The feeling of support. I've been an educator for 15 years. I was an administrator for 4 years. And I can tell you that support is one of the hardest things for an administrator to figure out, especially a new administrator. And that's totally understandable. In the era of COVID, I cannot imagine it being any more difficult. But with that said, it doesn't mean that it's impossible. And with that said, what does it mean to feel supported more? It's not a dollar sign. You know, we're educators. We didn't get in this for dollar signs. I mean, I got into it for the fame and money, but at the same time, I can't speak for my colleagues in that fact. But I can tell you that to feel supported is a complete overall holistic thing. It's not about more money. Albeit more money would be beautiful. If I got a raise, I would be ecstatic. Be happy as a clam. And so would probably everyone else in this room. We'd all be ecstatic with more money. But it also comes down to what I talk to my athletes about. It comes down to the support of love, care, compassion. That, I feel, is the biggest thing that I have seen void this year. Last year, you know, I was a new teacher in the district. Mr. C had mentioned it. You know, we used to have meetings every 3 to 4 weeks. We'd meet as new teachers. And the question was always asked, how are you feeling? Are you okay? What is making you overwhelmed? And just sometimes we need it as new teachers in the building. You know, I've taught for 15 years. I know what I'm doing, but there's some things I just don't know. There are things new to Martinsville that was not the case at Shoals, where I was an administrator, or Decatur Central, where I was a teacher, or Southport, or wherever I was. So it's just little things. But you know, that is important. It's important that every day, you know, last year an administrator would come up to my room, pat me on the shoulder and say, how you doing? Everything okay? How's things going on at home? How are the kids doing? You know, having an administrator know my kids' names last year. It's just not this year. And I mean, what do you feel supported by? I mean, as the head swim coach here for both boys and girls swimming, you know, to be successful, I want my athletes to know, and I tell them every day, I don't care what, you know, what we do, how it goes. Every day you walk out of the room, I tell every one of them, I love them. Too many of our kids don't hear that word, love. And I tell them every single day. They gave me an award this year that says the We Love You Too Coach Award. Because they always hear me say, I love you. I love you. I end every conversation, positive or negative. You know I love you. You know, I care about you. I love you. It's the hardest word for anyone to say, because when you tell someone you love them, you have to back it up with show that you love them. You can't just say it without showing it. And I think my athletes would say that they know that I love them, and they understand that. But to be successful in my classroom, to be successful and to feel supported is one and the same thing. It has to come from compassion. It has to be something, like, they have to know who I am. We're not a big school. We're a big school, okay. We're a big school, but we're not that big of a school. I worked at Shoals where our graduating classes were like 25. That's a small school. But I worked at Decatur Central where our graduating classes were pushing 800, okay? Yet everybody there knew each other. Everyone there knows each other's names and knows each other's backgrounds and families and everything. I can't say that's the case. I can't say it's the case at all. I want to commend one of our administrators, and he's here right now, Mr. Duggar. Mr. Duggar sends out something for us every Friday. It's a chance for us to get to know each other. It's a chance for us to connect. It's a chance for us to be on this, to feel like there's something there beyond just what I'm doing here. That this isn't just a job. It's a part of a family. And he does a great job of doing that. Mr. Duggar's come in my class a couple times and observed me, and not just to observe me as an administrator looking at me, but just to see me, get to know me. I'm a fall supervisor for athletics. I'm a spring supervisor for athletics. I'm a winter coach. So I am involved in athletics all the time. And I feel sorry for Mr. Staggs. I feel like I'm in his office every day, just getting information. But being a former administrator, being a former athletic administrator, I can tell you that when I'm at athletic events here versus where I've been, it's night and day. Our athletes, I don't care what anyone says, they don't feel supported. They don't. It comes back to being supported. Just by being there, you're not supporting them. Being there, hanging out in the top row, you're not supporting them. You have to be down in the crowd. You've got to be down cheering with them. They got to see your face cheering for them. COVID this year, yeah, it was rough. We all couldn't get in the building. It was rough. But there was space. There was room. There was a place for it, and it just wasn't there. I feel like I speak for small sports, even though I'm supposed to be a big sport. I feel very small this year. That our kids would just appreciate someone walking in and seeing their face. This is the second year in a row we've sent athletes to state. I don't think anyone would know that unless I put it out there and I yelled at the top of my lungs that it was happening. Last year we sent 2 athletes to state, one of which placed in the top 16, which hadn't happened in a while. No one came to watch them. Our athletic director did, but no one else did. We put it out there. We tried to get everyone to come up there. No one. This year, I looked at the IHAAs to see who bought from our community, see who watched from our community. We had 5 subscribers. So it's sad. That's where it comes back to support. I want to know that I'm supported. I want to know that people know my name. I want to know people that know my kids' names. I want to know that they know something about me. That's support. And if I feel that kind of support, I come in every day with a smile on my face. I come in every day with a smile on my face. I give 110% more in class. And then if I'm giving 100% more in class, guess what? Our kids are achieving 110% more. But every time my heart sinks a little because I don't feel support is a little less that I give in the class that day. And then I got to find and muster up the energy to get up there and go for it. So when we're looking at the first 2 questions, what do you believe is important to feel supported versus also what do you need to be successful? I'm not someone who's going to come up here and say something that's wrong without giving you a solution. But our solution is we need everybody to be more vocal, visible, and cheering for all of us. It has to be a cheer. It can't be just a retweet. It's got to be more than that. This job is daunting. Being an administrator is daunting. I know this. I've lived it. I got out of administration for a lot of reasons, and one of which was watching my kids grow up through Facebook. That was hard, which I don't have to do now, thank God. But overall, the support has got to be more than what it is from all facets. I'm not pointing my finger toward anybody specifically, but it's got to be from all facets. People talked about communication. Yes, communication is terrible. We can say that till we're blue in the face. It is terrible. I work in a district here. I live in a different district within our conference. Through COVID, living in that district, we got weekly videos from our superintendent explaining to us at what stage and what phase they were on in terms of bringing kids back, how we were doing it, where are they at, what's going on. Weekly videos from that superintendent. Even as we're going through this year, we're still getting biweekly, monthly emails and personal videos from building administrators, my son's administrator, and also the superintendent, and even school board. We want you, the family, to know this is where we're at, and this is what we're thinking, this is what we're doing. That's great. Communication-wise, I get half my information on what's going on in the building from the kids. They know before us. And that hurts. It hurts when we are the fourth and fifth person down the line who finds out something that's vitally important. So when it comes to being supported, again, it's got to be a whole team effort. It's got to be visually, vocally. It's got to be out there at all aspects. And by doing so, every day in the classroom, we become more successful. Kids become more engaged. Kids want to come to school. They won't want to be on Apex. They'll want to be on here. They'll want to be a part of what we're doing here. And that's important. Sometimes people forget, being an athletic director in Southern Indiana, basketball's king down there. What football is for us, that's basketball. Football, they can care less about football. Football gets 10 people out for the game. That's why you don't see a lot of Southern Indiana schools play football. They can't afford it. Basketball, though, if you've seen the movie Hoosiers, it's like that on steroids. It's insane. Mr. Staggs and I have a conversation all the time that I have a gym in Shoals that seats 750 people, and I sell more tickets to that game than we do here. And that's not an indication of what, it's just the environment. Football is a big deal here. Down there, it's basketball. It's huge. But it's I've seen principals jump out of their chair halfway on the floor screaming, cheering for their kids, going nuts. I have seen, my superintendent never missed a game ever of any sport. Didn't matter what it was. I would see her at cross-country matches, just so engaged. And that's not an indication of anybody here. It's not pointing fingers at anyone here. I'm just saying that's, kids see that. They know them. They see them. They interact. It's a big deal. And you see when Mrs. Hovis, she jumped on the floor and she stomped her feet. That's great. That's awesome. Seeing athletic directors just pounding their fists on chairs, like everyone's going nuts. Everyone's having a good time. Yeah, that's support. That's what support is. And that's not just for athletics. That should be in the classroom too. That should be, we should be having that kind of support in the classroom as well and in the building. But again, sometimes I feel like that no one even knows who I am, what I do, or all the things that I do. It's kind of just, okay, there it is. But again, it goes more beyond money and things. A lot of times it's just that little bit more. So that's all I got to say. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, John. Okay, we are still open. Is there anyone else that would like to make any comments here today? Yes.
My name is Ann Smith, and I teach 8th grade English. This is my 44th year of teaching. I taught at West and now at Wooden. I think that I'm speaking for middle school students now. These are a lot of great ideas, and they're big ideas, and they're long-term ideas. Mine is more short-term. There are two things I think we can do for middle school students. Number one, we can prohibit cell phones in the classroom. Students are so attached to those phones that even if you ask them to put them face down, they know when they go off, they want to pick them up. They're constantly doing that instead of focusing on instruction. I don't think they need their cell phones. At West, we didn't allow students to have cell phones. That's number one. That's quick. Some people might say, well, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. This is 2021. If it aids student focus on instruction and learning, we could do it. That's my opinion. And my second point is that right now, my students, I'm concerned about my students. I have approximately 110 students. They are currently in the science rooms, which are great for science. They have lab tables. Most of them have no windows. We were supposed to be 6 feet apart. My students are literally shoulder to shoulder. They are in there for at least 4 periods. They're all of their academic subjects, and many of them for a special subject like health or another class. They are just having anxiety, either anxiety for not being able to move and be by that one person all day long, or there's lethargy. They're lethargic. So I know we have to think about COVID. I know we do. But I see them going downhill instructionally. We're getting ready for iLearn. We want them to be invigorated and, be happy about it. We can do well. I tell them, if anybody can do well, we can do well. I teach English, so I'd rather be off of the Chromebook, and we want to be talking. What do we want for English? We want to be better speakers, listeners, readers, writers, and thinkers, critical thinkers. We're not going to do it by looking at the Chromebook all day long or checking our phones. So, I would like to limit the technology, at least in my subject area, speak one-on-one and group-wise, and for my students who are in that science lab, get them out. Get them out. Let them be in the hallways, be by one student all year long, like this, It's not psychologically productive. So I'm retiring, but I have until the end of May to make a difference educationally, and I'd like to be able to do it with those suggestions. Thank you. And I have so many people to thank in this room. You taught me to use Skyward. Susie, I said, Susie, I've never used Skyward. I've been teaching a long time, but I've never used Skyward when I came here 15 years ago. She said, I'll send you over, and Mrs. Deckert will teach you how to use Skyward. Thank you much. I'd like to see Accelerated Reader come back, and I'd like to see the Shostak Vocabulary Workshop come back for middle schoolers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you, Ann, and congratulations on 44 years.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Anyone else? It's a big ask today to get you to come into this room. As I said earlier, it's a big ask anyway at the end of the day, and then you add to it the fact that we've got sunshine out there and 80 degrees. So again, we want to thank you for attending today and for participating. And I agree, someone made the comment, it's not easy to come up here and make these statements in front of your peers. So we do appreciate you being here and participating today. In closure, the school board is interested in what you think we could be doing to make our schools better, to help support you in your role and to keep you employed in the MSD of Martinsville. You're always welcome to email or provide your phone number for us, and we will always get back in touch with you. If you have written responses today that you would like to leave, I believe there's a basket up here at the door. You can just drop them in that basket. And we all hope that you have a very successful ending to your school year for the 2021 school year season. And we hope to see all of you back here again in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know. You gonna grab me one too?
Yeah, I sure will.
Here,
Heather. I'm gonna clear my throat. Heather. Yeah, we got some principals. Well, maybe they'll speak on behalf of their schools. I don't know. Yeah.
Here, hey, Matt. You're not on my You're about a wife. My whole life has been that way. First and two. Actually, he went totally naked. He had somebody else. No, he was a young adult, a girl, and he was on that. So he started running to the field and ran back behind the soccer press box. Playground, he had that little hole right there. So he jumped in there, and all of a sudden, all of a sudden, about 8 police cars showed up. He was finally running. They have their lights on, sirens, they get out, they chase him. They end up having to pack ladies, and they have to tase them. It is fun, it's the way it is.
We haven't forgotten.
I'm open for questions. I got
Some others, right? Yeah.
anyway.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks, Matt, for praying.
Oh, good luck tomorrow.
Oh, thanks for getting me that, Jackie. Okay. I say let's roll. I say yeah, let's roll. I told him I was gonna get a chair to put my feet on because my feet are thing. I know. And I feel like me too. I'm like I keep going like this. I turned mine back on.
Okay, if I can have your attention, please, we'd like to get started.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second session of the April 5th work session for the MSD School Board. My name is Don Lips, and I am serving as the president of the school board for the calendar year of 2021. Alongside of me up here in the front are the other school board members. To my left is Mr. Matt Hankins, Michelle Ball. To my right is Jackie Deckard, our secretary, and Heather Staggs, our vice president. We want to welcome you. We know how difficult it is to come to a meeting at the end of a tough school day, and complicating the matter a little bit more would be the sunshine we have outside and the 80-degree weather. But again, we thank you for taking the time and the investment to come here and listen and voice some opinions here on how we can move forward in our district. The school board has asked for this meeting because we want to hear from you, the teachers and staff, and see what you have to say about how we can move forward, how we can improve in our district. You're the people that are in the trenches. You are the people who are in front of the students on a daily basis. You're the ones that are making the contacts and the connections with the parents, the community members, and again, the students. So it's important for us to hear what you have to say in this format here as we, again, try to make plans for how we want to move forward. We're interested in what you have to think and what you think we should be doing as a district to help you, to help support you in your role, and to keep you, what we can do to help keep you employed here in the MSD of Martinsville in the future years. We've chosen a work session because legally, a work session is the format that we can use where all 5 school board members can be present. And we all felt that it was important that we all be here to listen to your voice here today. We will have a third work session. We had one prior to this 4 o'clock meeting with the secondary teachers. We have this meeting, and then we have a third work session which is scheduled for next Monday, April 12th at 7 o'clock in the evening. And the focus of that work session is for us to hear from community members and from parents. It is open to the public, just like this meeting is. So anyone in the public that would like to attend this meeting or the meeting next Monday is able to do so. And I do know that we also have Cody Thompson here today from the Reporter Times as part of our media. So if you're someone that is in here today and you're not a member of our teaching staff or our staff, we would like to welcome you as well. The mission of the board with these 3 work sessions that we have is to take what everybody has to say, to put all the pieces together with the ideas that you have for how we should be moving forward, and for us then to take all this information and to use it as we plan on what we want to see as our vision moving forward again over the course of the next couple of years that we're together here as a board. So we have and I know we sent out a notice. I'm going to give some sample questions. It's difficult for you to just stand up here and talk, but we have a couple sample questions on some things that we're kind of looking for, but obviously we would be open to anything that you would have to say. But we're looking for questions such as, one, what do you believe is important for you to feel supported and valued in the MSD of Martinsville? Number two, what do you want and need to be successful in your classroom or in your position here in the MSD? Number three, what would you like to see developed in our school district during the next 2 years? Number four, what could be done to improve teacher and staff morale? Number five, what could be done to make your school day a little bit more productive and more efficient? Number six, being respectful to the time commitment that you have in the classroom every day. What is something that maybe could be taken off of your plate that would make your day and your job a little bit easier? And number seven, what could we do as a board, as an administrative team, to help retain our teachers and staff in the MSD of Martinsville? So the format here for today, again, is we will ask for volunteers to come up here and speak. We have a podium and a microphone. We would like to ask, if you would, to identify yourself and what building you are coming from. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you don't have to do that. You can just come up here and speak. It's a general format today. The board is not necessarily up here today to answer any questions that you might have because we don't have all the answers. What our purpose here today is simply to listen to you and then take, again, that information and use it as we move forward. If you are uncomfortable giving your thoughts or feelings today because of the format or for any particular reason, I think we've given you flyers, or maybe you picked up a flyer. We have them available on the front table. You can fill those out. You do not have to put your name on it, and you can drop them up. There's a basket up here on the table. You can drop them in the basket as you leave here today. So before we begin, does anybody in here have any questions on the format for this session here this afternoon? Okay. All right. Did we have anybody, Courtney, did we have anyone sign up? I'm sorry? Okay. All right.
Hi, I'm Sarah Burnett. I teach kindergarten at Smith Elementary. I actually have two concerns I would like to bring you. One, kindergarten and first grade teachers all met earlier in the fall during our Wednesday meetings, and we actually met with Mr. Buckler about this issue. We currently are one-to-one technology with iPads. Every kindergartner who's 4, 5, 6 knows how to use it. It's a touch screen computer. They can use it. So once they come into our classroom, we're just teaching them how to use the app. We usually use Seesaw, Lexia. That's a lot of drag and drops. Super easy. They can touch it. They can move it. This summer, Mr. Buckler and Dr. Arthur sent a video to us saying that our district is moving K through 12 to Chromebooks. In our meeting with Mr. Buckler, every single kindergarten teacher and first grade teacher said we were opposed to this, completely opposed. It is not developmentally appropriate. Kids cannot walk around the classroom with the Chromebook. They cannot take videos. They cannot do a lot of the stuff that we're currently doing on the iPads. Every single kindergarten and first grade teacher felt this way. We had a meeting with Mr. Buckler. He heard our concerns, and yet it's still being pushed. K through 12 is going to use Chromebooks. Why our district is choosing this, we've not been given an answer. We don't know if it's technology, if it's the CEC department, we do not know, but K-1 teachers' voices are not being heard. Again, we have met with the superintendents. We talked to our building principals. We have met as our K-1 groups with those principals. Everyone knows K-1 teachers are opposed to this, and yet it's still being pushed. We're moving to Chromebooks. Why? A 4-year-old cannot use a little mouse this big and click on something and use another hand to drag it. And that's what Lexia mostly is. And every single K-1 teacher is using Lexia in our district. Same with Seesaw. You can make videos. It's so easy on a touch screen iPad. And yet they're moving away to that and not giving us any reason. So that's my first concern. I just would like that to be addressed with someone else. We have asked Mr. Buckler. We didn't get an answer as to why this is happening. We talked to our principals. Again, we don't know what's going on. Secondly, I would just like to address class sizes in kindergarten. I currently have 25 students in my classroom. Last year it was up to 26. We have 3 teachers at Smith Elementary that have 23, 24, or 25 currently. There are other kindergarten classrooms in our district that have 12 or 15. Why is this happening every single year? We did have an aide that we shared who moved out of state, so we don't have her anymore. But if you average the 7 hours she can work and you take away our special times, our recess, and our lunch, each teacher was getting her for less than 2 hours a day. That's not very helpful when we all teach math at the same time. We all teach reading at the same time. So she can't be in our classrooms during all of our math or all of our reading to help us. Why are kindergarten class sizes so different in our district? And as a kindergarten teacher, I have one of the largest class sizes every year, and it's like, why do I have 25 and they have 12? When we get the exact same budget to spend on my 25 kids, I have to provide pencils, scissors, erasers, glue, all of that for my 25, and they get the same money for their 12. Again, why is that happening every year? So those are my 2 concerns. If you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer. As I said, the first one, the iPads, every kindergarten, first grade teacher, you can ask any of us, we're all opposed to using Chromebooks in our classroom. But it's still being pushed on us. So those are my 2 concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. No one else? Okay, Shannon? Go for it.
Right.
Nudge. Yeah, little nudge. Okay, so I just now thought of this with regard to take something off my plate and save me time. This is high school specific. Also, we need to know that I use an incredible amount of paper. But something the high school started last year was Robin Dorset would make copies, or the front office would help with making copies when they had a little bit of downtime. And I've not really used that this year because I'm doing virtually everything digitally. But I do like paper for a lot of things that we do. That probably saved me about 2 hours a week. And that is huge, particularly when Robin could get everything started and it could just run and then she could get back in a different area. So I don't know if other teachers have issues like that, but that was something small that I thought of that made a huge difference for me last year. So that's just one little thing that I thought of. And just the other thing, and it's very broad, and I don't have great ideas how to solve it. But I have had circumstances, they probably started about 3 years ago, where I did feel disconnected from what I thought artesian culture was. And and my husband's not here to speak for himself, so it's probably not fair to say that he felt the same way. But I know that my husband has taught here for almost 20 years. I think we've had off and on these feelings of not being quite connected with what I thought it was supposed to feel like. And how it feels is important to me. I'm a relational teacher, and so the relationship piece, like, I need to feel that. Now, I'm not going to go so far as John Kirtland and say I don't want to raise, because I want to raise, but but I need to feel that love and compassion that John was talking about. And I'm not saying that with like a negative to anyone. Historically, I had been one of the worst people. I would get blinders on. I had so many jobs to do. I would just run through the hallways. And I a previous administrator would call me out on it. That person would literally have to, stop me and say hello, and that is really important for people like me. And I don't know how many me's there are. I wanted, this is a parent piece, so I won't say it. But I want to feel artesian culture the same way I used to feel it about 4 years ago. But I don't know exactly how to get there. So I'm not saying it as a negative thing, and it would be nice if I could offer a solution to that. And I don't have a great solution, but I would like to feel it again, the way I used to. Somebody has to come say some stuff. You got something? You got a programming thing?
Thank you, Shannon.
Hi, my name is Rachel Fender. I'm one of the school psychologists at MSD Martinsville Schools. This is my 4th year with the district. My 7th year as a school psychologist. I was a teacher before that.
Yeah. Can you hang on, Rachel?
Sure.
Can you guys hear her?
Sorry.
Yeah, hang on.
Thank you. Is that better?
Much.
Okay, so I'll just say again, I know a lot of you, but my name is Rachel Fender. I'm a school psychologist here at MSD Martinsville. This is my 4th year with the district. I was a teacher before that. This is my 7th year as a school psychologist. I'm a little nervous, so please excuse the nerves, but I wanted to talk to you about, last week I spent 3 hours sitting in ALICE training with a number of my colleagues, and we learned what to do if a school shooter comes into our building. We learned to bar the doors, and we learned to not be all in the same place, and we learned valuable things, but my questioning of that is that we are attacking these problems from the exact wrong end. All of these problems are what to do after a student of ours has already reached the point where they are so desperate that that's the only thing they can think to do. And my heart really breaks for those kids, because we know very clearly, we know when these kids are little, when they're preschoolers, when they're in elementary school and junior high and high school. And right now, this year, I have the preschool, Green, Smith, Bell, JRW, and MHS. I have 6 schools. I want to be able to work with students and do more than special education evaluations, which is 90% of my job right now. Those are important, and I value that work because a good evaluation is the basis for a good IEP. And so I think that is extremely important. And this is not meant to come off as a criticism of Renee, who is my supervisor. Renee and I have a good working relationship. I appreciate her very much, and I think she has a heart for special education. But we have got to start thinking about mental health in this corporation and taking it seriously. It cannot be the last thing on our agenda. We have a lot of kids that come in, and this is where they are getting everything. They are getting their meals, they are getting their mental health services, they're getting education. We can't neglect this. We can't send kids out into the workforce who are not employable because they do not have social emotional skills. They can't cope with their frustration. They don't know what to do when they're angry. We know that the school to prison pipeline is a real thing. There is tons and years of research to back up everything I'm telling you right now. But what I'm telling you is that I don't have time to do any of these other things that are so important to me. This is why I went back to school to become a school psychologist, because I have a passion for helping kids with behavioral and emotional challenges, and I do not have time in my day to even spend 20 minutes working on these things with my teachers, with my administrators. I love doing that work, And school psychology is a very competitive field right now in terms of there are tons of openings everywhere and not very many of us. I want to stay with MSD Martinsville. I had planned on retiring from here, but I am so frustrated with not being able to do the work that I feel is super, super important. And I'm sorry I'm getting emotional. I had not intended to do that whatsoever. But our national ratio states that we should have, at the minimum, we should have 6 full-time school psychologists for this size of a district. We have 3. That's the most we've ever had. I can't do my job if there aren't enough of us to do these things and to cover these things. We can do better work, and our kids deserve better than I can give them, and that just eats at me as a professional, as a person who really cares about students. This building, the high school, I've had this building the entire time I've been here. We have 1 social worker here. 1. She can only serve students who are on Medicaid eligible. That's it. Our counselors, they're amazing. They don't do counseling. There's a big misperception about when we hear we have counselors, we have school psychologists. None of us are able to do the things that we want to do that are, in my mind, the big impact for you and for our school system. So I guess that's all I wanted to say, but I thank you for listening.
Well, you're very passionate, and that comes through. So thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Hi, I'm Audrey Collier. I teach 6th grade at Bell. I'm not speaking just for myself. I'm speaking for a mass majority at Bell. At Bell, the last Wednesday of every month, our union members can meet as an opportunity to talk, which is great. In our building, our union represents 98% of us in our building. We're very strong. And then we gather on Wednesdays just to talk. A lot of times, whatever our union president sends out in emails, we make sure we share. And then it's also a time at the end for people. We literally put down how can we tweak our building and what are some great things going on in our building. And it has been miraculous. Our building has been great. And then on Monday, on the first Friday of the month, we meet after school with both of our administrators, and then we share praises, we share concerns, and it's just been great. It's been a great communication tool back and forth. So last Wednesday, we said, hey, this Monday coming up is when we can meet with our school board. So I literally just got a piece of paper out and said, what do we want to share? We read the questions. What do we want to share? So I don't want to feel like I'm taking the blame or the credit for either way, but this is coming from many teachers. And my phone just shut down. So one thing that was brought up, Shannon started with the artesian feel. One thing that was brought up was we wanted the artesian feel, and we wanted the school board to remember to hire at home, hire artisans, choose the artisans first. Not that we're opposed to people from the outside, but we feel like we've kind of gone astray from really going for, and then you talked about how do we keep teachers here. Well, a lot of people that live here, if you live where you're working, by golly, you're going to be vested. So just something to consider. You asked, what can you take off of our plates? Something that was brought up was e-learning. E-learning. And I know the administration, we're already working on plans for next year. That's already something in the mix. But it was brought up, can we be transparent and can we get ahead of the plan? And I know it's coming, I know it is. But really, really, can we by May 1st, let's get it out there, let's have a plan so we know exactly what's happening with e-learning next year. And we know it's coming, we know that, but let's really get ahead of this game with e-learning and get it all ironed out, all the details ironed out. And we know, too, a lot of it depends on numbers. That's a factor. But if we can really have the e-learning piece almost separate, would be great. And the last thing, you asked how can we get teachers to stay? There's a multitude of reasons how you can get teachers to stay. But a big one, to be honest, is pay, is money. And this year we were very disappointed that teachers did not get a pay raise, which was a big bummer. We understand some things, but it was frustrating to see that our upper level secretaries were added, positions were added to the administrative level, and that was frustrating when teachers didn't get their pay raise. So, and I know there's different reasons, but I'm just, again, sharing thoughts that we'd like to see pay. And I know that's even like the state of Indiana. There's the governor put out, that they're trying to compare our teacher salaries with different states. So please consider teacher salaries. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey. Is there anyone else? Mr. Stout?
Hi, guys. You can kind of cut the tension with a knife here, so holy cow. Kyle Stout, Principal, Smith Fine Arts Academy. I had not had any intention on speaking today, but just some of the comments today resonated with me. Number one, I just want to say thank you. In my 19 years here in the district, never had an opportunity or an open microphone for people to address concerns in our schools and also our district. So thank you for having the opportunity here. Also, I just wanted to say to those of you that are in the trenches that wanted to speak today, for being Mr. Boland's assistant principal for 6 years, he always mentioned at our I think we call them variety shows. The hardest thing for kids to do is to perform in front of their peers. For those of you that have spoke today or will speak after me, I will say thank you for the reason being I got into education and administration because I always thought that I could maybe do better than what I had seen. And for some of you that had the courage today to speak, I just want to say thank you. No improvement is made without you all having the courage to get up here and take this microphone and speak. So for those of you that have spoken today and maybe may after I am today, thank you. Just very quickly, I just wanted to mention exit interviews. We talk a lot about how we can make things better, but if we're serious about how we can make things better, are we talking to people that are leaving? And are we doing that in a manner in which we're going to get honest feedback? Meaning, if there is an issue at Smith and someone leaves Smith and goes to another district, it might not benefit me to have the exit interview with that staff member to ask why they're leaving. So I just want to just extend this to the board that as we think about how to improve, to have honest feedback with people when they do leave, but not also with staff. I would also like to see, and this is more of a parent as well, we talk a lot about artesian culture, and that's come up today several times. I'd also like to see that happen with people that are choosing to leave Martinsville High School early as students. I think we put a lot of priority on students that are wanting to graduate early, but I think also if you would talk to some of the students at Martinsville High School this year that are seniors, you might find out that they're not leaving because of exciting reasons, that they were choosing to leave maybe because of other reasons. And I'd like to see exactly what those reasons may be. That's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kyle. Anyone else? I know it is. It's kind of intimidating, isn't it?
Okay, so I wasn't sure I was going to do this, but here we go. Oh, Nancy Rickelman. I'm going to be Dr. Fauci and take that off. So I work at Smith Fine Arts, and I'm an aide in the developmental preschool. Oh, my God. Okay, so this is not what I do. So currently we have 4 days.
Time out. Can I stop you for a minute?
Yes.
Are you saying that talking is not what you do? Is this a different Nancy Rickelman?
I'm a professional talker, and this is scaring the shit out of me. Sorry. Okay, so.
But it's informal, so we want you to feel that way. You just
Okay.
speak freely.
We're all just friends here,
That's
right?
right.
And I want my job tomorrow. Okay, so so I work in the developmental preschool, and I'm an aide, and we currently have 4 days of instruction, and I really want 5. And I don't know if you guys know, I know Michelle knows because she came and read to us a couple times, but we work with 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, and the K-bound kids, which would be the 5, they come 4 days, and then the 3-year-olds come 2 days, and the 4-year-olds come 2 days, and it's a half a day. So my little guys, they're only coming 2.5 hours a day, twice, which is okay. And we're doing it. I work with a fabulous teacher. We're getting it done. But then you go, well, what could you do if you were here 4 days? And just so you know, and y'all better back me up, we potty train, okay? We're good at it. It's not our favorite, but we're good at it. And I think, okay, what kindergarten teacher doesn't want me to have little Jimmy completely potty trained? Because we have sent kids to kindergarten that are still in diapers, and that's not good for anybody. It's not good for the kid. It's not good for the teacher. I doubt, who's a kindergarten teacher? I doubt Sarah Burnett wants to change a diaper, or any of them. I'm sorry. So here's what we kind of do. Our kids also get therapy. So they're getting speech, they're getting occupational therapy, they're getting physical therapy, and they also get, I don't know what it's called, the hearing instructor. And then if we have low vision, at one time, Carol Clark was our low vision girl. So if we can get my kids in more than 2 times, then they're going to get that therapy. And then when they go across the hall, you know, to Sarah or Stacy Gillette or anybody that's a kindergarten teacher, then my kids are more prepared. They know what it feels like to go in that little bathroom and go to the bathroom. They know, you know what, when the teacher's standing and she's in front of you, they really want you to stay in your seat. And we also do this, we try to improve their social skills. So in other words, they learn to share. They learn to take my turn, your turn, which sounds like we don't do that much. But when you get to 1st, 2nd grade, when they hit Leslie White's room, I want them to be able to sit. I don't want my kids to be the one, oh my gosh, did you see little Jimmy today? I don't want that. And then, sorry, these are my kids I'm talking about. We also try to identify triggers. And so we can pass on to whatever teacher they get, and we can say, okay, little Jimmy, and by the way, we don't have a Jimmy, but little Jimmy works on a delay. And what that means is I can tell him to color the tree green, do not make eye contact, walk away, and know that in 3 to 5 minutes, he will color that. If I can figure that out at 3, 4, and 5, and I can pass that information on, that teacher doesn't have to take the entire year to figure that out. If I can tell a teacher that this little girl, she has 7,000 times the sweat glands in her feet. So if she comes up to you and puts her foot on your thigh, take your shoes and socks off. Let her walk 10 minutes, cool them off. She will, it's a boy actually, and he will put his shoes and socks back on. It's not a problem. There's not a hazard. You know, but if I can tell that teacher, look, this is, you know, whatever. And we deal with more than just behavioral and autistic kids. We have kids that have spina bifida. We have kids that have cerebral palsy. A few years ago, we had a little girl that she was born with half her brain. And so we figured out before she went on, this is what she looks like before she has a seizure. And parents aren't always really forthcoming Just in the last month in our class, we discovered that this little guy seizes, and it was a staring seizure, and we figured that out. And you know, and he comes with a nurse grandma, and it's like, does he have seizures? Oh yeah, he does. I'm like, that would have been good to know. I mean, you need to chart that stuff, because if your child is seizing, it's normal for them to be lethargic. They want to lay down. They want to take a nap. And if I can tell that next teacher, here's what to look for. Now, kids are going to grow out of that, and it is never going to work the same time. It might work today, and it's not going to work tomorrow, but it might work next Thursday. But if you have like this toolbox of these little guys, you know, coming through special ed, and we just need more time. And I apologize, you know, and that's it.
No need to apologize. Thanks, Nancy.
Hi, my name is Leslie White, and I teach first grade at Smith. And I'm going to try to talk about what Sarah talked about with the iPad and Chromebook issue. First of all, you can probably see that for an elementary, for K1, preschool, that we're all about kids here, and that we are not the same as third and fourth grade, fifth and sixth, high school. And a lot of this, you know, we're trying to point out that decisions cannot be streamlined, that what works for high school, middle school, third and fourth grade doesn't work for K1, for preschool, because we are finding out kids' needs from the first time. The way we teach is different, and that was one thing that I think we need to remember, that you know, there's just so many, you cannot have the same decision work at the K1 pre-K level. But on the iPad Chromebook issue, we've had a great year. Nobody has liked the e-learning and what we've done. It's hard. But I feel like at the K1 level, we have knocked it out of the park this year. We could have been the model schools, elementary, K1, for all area schools, Franklin, Mooresville, Monrovia, how we did it. Part of that is because we use Seesaw as our learning platform. That is a very kid-friendly program that operates almost like Google Classroom, but at a kid-friendly level, a K1 level, but high school could even use Seesaw. That has made our life a lot easier. The second thing was because we had the iPads. When we did it, we do not have to think. Our kids do not have to think about technology. They can focus on their learning and their instruction. We are here, we're teaching them how to read. We're teaching them, some in kindergarten come in not able to hold a pencil, not able to cut. You know, we have so many other things that we are learning about them, figuring out. We have vision issue problems, everything like that. These kids for this year and ever since we've had iPads have never had to think about how to use this technology. Yes, they might not know Seesaw on day one, they might not know Lexia, but you give us 2 days, they know Seesaw, they know Lexia, and then they can start learning because we're not taking time away on instruction and curriculum. That's going to change with Chromebooks. Are there schools out there that use Chromebooks? There are, but they're not using Seesaw, and I know this because I made the calls this year, and I contacted teachers in Mooresville and Franklin, and I said, how are you learning? First of all, they did not have Seesaw, so they probably had a hard time with their e-learning. But when I did ask them, they had touchscreen Chromebooks. And that makes a big difference. So if we're going to Chromebooks, now we're going to have to use money to buy a mouse for everyone. Not only that, it's now teaching them how to use a Chromebook. So instead of teaching reading, instead of teaching the curriculum that we're supposed to be teaching, now we have to teach how to use a Chromebook. And a Chromebook for a K1 student, first of all, they can't read when they come in. So instead of looking for a picture or an icon, we have to teach them how to find these drop-down things with the words. Second of all, you know, getting just all the multiple steps that you have to do to get to a place. We don't do that on iPads. You're there. Learning starts immediately. And we're not saying that our rooms have gone all technology. We're not pushing that technology is the answer. And if you would come into our rooms, you would see we are very fluid throughout the day between paper, technology, how we learn. It's very smooth. It's very smooth on how we go back and forth. But that learning's not going to happen. And I don't know what the plans are next year for e-learning and how we're going to do that, but I know it's going to be difficult. At the beginning, when we found out this, we tried to give ideas. How can we make this? Our K-1 teachers, we spoke about, we gave them reasons why. As educators, we've all had early childhood backgrounds. We've taught over 20 years, so we know what's going to happen. We know why this isn't going to work and how we're going to lose that instruction. We presented that, and we just feel like that we were not heard. We were never told this was going to happen. We were then led to believe that this was a pilot, that we're going to see how it works. But no one, since we've had iPads, has come into our classroom to see how great we're learning with iPads, to see we don't have to teach them technology. We're doing the learning, and we're engaging them in their learning. So, that would have been nice to have people come in and see that we're not just using the iPads for an app. We don't sit at our desk all day and do an uploaded worksheet. That's not what we do. That's not what we did this year. But if you came in a normal year, we are all over our room. We're in stations. On Seesaw, we're taking photos of station work on the floor. The kids are owning their learning. They're talking to their mom and dad, their audience, in their Seesaw by taking their picture, within 3 seconds, their parents see it, see their learning at school because of this, because of Seesaw and iPads. Can you imagine giving a 4 and 5-year-old a Chromebook and you have to hold it up and twist it around to try to take a picture of a station learning thing that we did? You can't do it. So that's gone. That won't happen anymore. We move to places in our room. How are you carrying a 4, 5, and 6-year-old carrying this big Chromebook around in our rooms? Because that's how we learn. Whereas, come and see us now, it's not even a thought on how we can do that with an iPad. All this is going to be lost when we go to that Chromebook. All this learning, this great learning. So that was our biggest concern, and the biggest thing that we were not a part of this decision at all. We would have loved to have been talked about this beforehand, to go back and forth with each other. If we have to go to Chromebooks, then get a touch screen. Why wasn't that an issue or even discussed? That's what the other schools are doing because they know that K-1, they need that. That's how they learn. You give a 4-year-old an iPad, they can start learning right away, not with a Chromebook. So I'm just saying next year, instead of starting with learning and on day 2 of kindergarten, first grade, of having real learning, it's going to take us a month to figure out how to use a Chromebook, no matter how easy you make it. Second of all, in probably my 3 last case conferences with SPED kids, they have to have an iPad. We've got vision issues. We've got fine motor skill issues. K-1 teachers know this. This is why we were pointing this out. Nobody else knows this because nobody comes in our classroom to see us in action. When we first got iPads in this district, yes, it was an app that we did. They were new, that's what we did. That is not the case anymore. This is integrated into our learning. We're fluid, kids don't think about it. It's just part of the learning and it's back and forth. So this is a major decision that's going to affect curriculum and instruction in our room. And it's going to take time away, or the Chromebooks aren't going to be used like they should. That means Seesaw's not going to be used like it was designed to use. We put money, our district spent money for Seesaw. It's pretty expensive, but it's also an awesome way of learning and communicating with families and letting them see your learning live and having student ownership. We're going to lose part of that simply because now kids can't take their pictures and videos of what they're supposed to. We asked parents, we did a parent survey. K-1 parents do not want Chromebooks. They are hard to use. And I even reached out to parents in Franklin who do use Chromebooks. They said the same thing. It is hard to drag and drop, and this is coming from a first grade parent, a second grade parent. It is hard to manipulate. It's hard to show their learning. Parents would have to take the picture on their phone, send it to the kid, and this is coming from, like I said, outside of a district. We were trying to tell them, these are the problems we're going to have because we learn differently at this age. We are not sitting at our desk doing an uploaded worksheet. We are active in our learning. So we're trying to show them, this is what's coming, this is what's going to happen. And we really feel like we were not involved in this decision or listened to it all, and there could be lots of problems next year, or we'll go back to the old-fashioned paper and pencil way. I'm not saying that's bad, but I'm saying in this world, we have gotten our students ready for the assessments coming up by learning how to drag and drop, by learning how to highlight, by learning all these tools that they have to use when they become third graders for all the benchmark assessments. That is going to be lost with the Chromebook. So I'm not here, I want to be positive in that if you looked at us this year, it was great. Our e-learning was great. And like I said, we could have been a model for area schools on how we did this at K1 with this. So I appreciate you listening.
Thank you. Anyone else? Last chance. You guys want to enjoy that sunshine, don't you? Still have a couple hours left. Well, again, on behalf of the board, I would like to thank everybody for attending today. You know, it's somewhat convenient for the secondary schools to attend a meeting after school because they're all pretty centrally located here, and it's easy for them to get to one location. It's a lot more difficult for the elementary schools because geographically you're so spread out, traffic the way it is here. So we know that if you're here today, you made a special effort to be here, and we certainly appreciate that. And the next time we have one of these formats open to the elementary people, teachers and staff, I'd like to work with the with the elementary principals on how we could manage this or set this up so it would be more convenient for you. Because again, we know convenience is it's a pretty important aspect when it comes to gathering people at the end of the school day and getting some of their opinions. So again, thanks a lot, everybody, for speaking today and for attending. We appreciate it. Again, we will have another session for the public, mostly parents and community members, a week from today, Monday the 12th. You're more than welcome to attend if you would like to attend. We'd like to also wish you the best of luck here for a very successful last several weeks of this school year, and we hope to see you all back here again in the fall. Thank you.